Hi guys, it's Heather and I am with the Plot Genie, and today we are going to talk about mom hacks to help you hit your writing deadline. Now, this can be applied whether you have children or not, but it is specifically geared for those who either are so busy at home, whether you have a full-time job, maybe you're taking care of an elderly relative, maybe you're helping with a nonprofit project, something where you are incredibly busy, and that is not even including if you have a full time job or not. So, I'm hoping these tips will help you hit your deadline with joy and ease. And I know that sometimes that's not always possible, but I'm here to try. So, the first thing seems simple enough, but can be so hard to do is just ask for help. If you have a partner that you trust, a partner that is super supportive of what you're doing, ask them to watch the kids. I'm lucky that I can ask my husband for a couple of hours. Now, sometimes I need to arrange it around his work schedule, which I am perfectly fine with because I can sit down at my computer and just write. Obviously, I have preferences of when I do that, but if I get alone time and it's a solid, whether hour or 2 hours, and I don't have to worry about the kids banging on my door, I mean, sometimes it doesn't matter, I just ignore it, then yes, absolutely, just take what you can and ask for help. It could be your parents. Can your parents watch the grandkids for even an hour? Can the hubby take the kids to the grocery store? Just anything like that. Or can you go grab a coffee or something and write, at Starbucks or whatever place you love to get your hot chocolate? I don't drink coffee, but you know what I mean. Don't be afraid to ask for help. So that's my first tip. And I also understand that not everybody has that luxury. So the second thing that I really, really want you to focus on is to create a deadline that you know you can hit. And sometimes it's better to be on the safe side than it is to, what's the right way to say this? We all want to have faith that life is going to go smoothly and perfectly. But especially as a mom, we know that never happens. So it's better to sort of plan for that than it is to put all of this pressure on yourself on top of being that pressure of being a good mom or being a good wife or husband or whatever. It doesn't really matter, just this is a way to sort of take that burden off of your shoulders before it even can set in. For example, my Slapshot series, I'm writing book 12, and I mentioned this in an earlier video. I think it's going to be the last one. Now, when I mapped out my writing schedule, I thought that I would finish this at a certain time and I could publish it in January, which is perfect because the book takes place during the All-Star game or the All-Star weekend, and January is when All-Star weekend is in the NHL. But I realized that while I would probably finish before January, I wanted to give myself that grace of, okay, I need to go back. Maybe I need to add some words during the editing process. Maybe I need to take some words away. I wanted my ARC team to have enough time with it so they didn't feel like they had to rush through it. So I put a pre-order up for March, I think it's 13th. And even though that's 2 months from when I wanted it to come out, I am halfway through it already. And at the time of this recording, it's about 4 months away. So I know I'm going to finish the book, and I know I'll have plenty of time to go back and edit, add words as necessary without that stress of letting someone down, letting myself down, and making my readers wait even longer for a book that they weren't even sure they were going to get in the first place. So don't be afraid to create a deadline that's a little bit farther out than normal, only because you know that you'll be able to hit it based on the habits that you've already developed as an author. The third tip I have for you is don't be afraid to write during times that maybe you don't. Like, we're not all blessed to be able to sit down at a computer and just write without interruption. But sometimes we use that as an excuse for not writing at all. So what I do is I write during pickup, I write during drop off. Like, my stepson goes to son or my stepson goes to school an hour before my daughter. So we will be sitting in the car and I will use that time to try to hit 300 words in the car before, reading Harry Potter with her or checking her homework or giving her a practice spelling test or whatever. Don't be afraid to do that. When you're picking the kids up, I've always liked to get there early because pickup can be such a pain in the butt. And I like to know that, okay, my car isn't hanging out on the street or whatever. So sometimes I'm there like 40 minutes early and I might have a 2-year-old in the back with me. Guess what? Usually that 2-year-old has been conditioned enough where she's napping. I have writing time and I'm going to take advantage of that writing time. My kids are all in sports. So guess what? During practice, I am sitting in the freaking cold ice rink, but I am trying to hit that word count that I want to hit. So don't be afraid to find these times to write. You need to adapt. If you've never written on your phone because it's awkward, well, I'm sure you've texted before, right? I'm almost positive you sent out emails. You're just writing a little bit more than an email that you sent, right? If you really want to hit this goal, if you really want to hit this deadline, you need to adapt to different ways. And sometimes we find pocket of times, not necessarily in the most ideal of settings, but if you can make it work, make it work. Number 4, you can choose to wake up earlier or stay up later. Now, as someone who has a sleep schedule that I like to stick with, this can be really, really hard, but sometimes it's really necessary if you're trying to hit that deadline. You have to make sacrifices and you have to figure out how badly you really want this. Now, I'm not trying to tie your intrinsic value into the production that you have for your writing. At the same time, you're in charge of your writing schedule, right? You've created this deadline, whether it's by putting up a pre-order or not. And you also are aware of your life, right? You are aware of how busy it can be. So essentially, you are in control of yourself and you are in control of your business. You don't have to have this deadline where it is. You could push it out if you needed to. But if you want to hit it, sacrifice sometimes is necessary, which means maybe husband or wife or whoever can put the kids to sleep for the next couple of days while you try to hit your word count. Maybe you wake up an hour early and dedicate that time to doing it. Whatever works best for your schedule and your family, you need to do it. There's nothing I can say about it. I'm not the one who is in your shoes. You have to figure out what's best, but you have to figure something out. And the last tip I have for you, have a solid understanding of what you're going to write next. Sometimes we say, I have writer's block, I don't know where this is going, and we use this as an excuse to not write. And again, we don't want any excuses to not write. Whether this means you have an outline, a detailed outline of, okay, I can look at this and I know exactly what I'm doing, or you write a little ahead, whether you end every scene and that's where you usually stop. Maybe you write like a couple hundred words into the next scene, so all you really have to do is skim what you've already written and jump in from there. But just know where you're going next, because at least that way you don't have to stop and think about it, because then those thoughts you can start doubting yourself. You can start making excuses of why this isn't going to work or you're never going to hit this deadline. Don't let that little voice, don't give it any time to manifest in your head, right? If you know where you're going, when you end, it should work itself out and you'll be able to jump back into the story right away rather than trying to figure it out. So those are my tips. If you are a mom and you've hit deadlines, I would love to hear some of your advice. If any of these tips have resonated with you, I would love to know what worked for you and maybe what even didn't. So please don't forget to subscribe, like this video. It really helps the channel, and thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.